But one of the factors that goes into calculating our aid, or should be, is the combined wealth ratio, which incorporates income wealth and property wealth. The state average that they use for calculation is 1.0. Hornell has a combined wealth ratio of 0.33. 2/3 below the state average. What happens when you take a look at our aid, our revenue package, you'll see something called the gap elimination adjustment. That's the money that is being taken back in to help balance the state's budget. That's the $4.5 million that I spoke about over the last 3 years that the state has taken back to help balance the state budget. Last year we had $1.9 million taken back. The school district that has double the wealth had $1.3 million taken back. Something is wrong with this picture. They're more wealthy, they had less money taken back. Their tax base can afford a more significant decrease in the state contribution. We have nearly 80% of our funding coming from the state, yet we have more taken away.
Has any of the school districts that have been impacted the most by these takeaways, have they done an analysis of the political base of those communities as what their trend is, either conservative or liberal?
No.
Such as a punishment tool?
I can't say it's been pursued yet. It'd be interesting to know.
It just seems to be terribly suspicious that, that areas like ours that tend to be conservative seem to get it on the nose all the time when it comes to state politics.
Just drafted a letter going out to the governor asking for a personal meeting to discuss. We can't afford to build our economy by destroying our schools. You can't continue to take away the support in terms of our state aid and expect us to raise student achievement and build state economy.
We cannot be alone in this.
We are not.
A good quality education. Yep. I realize that we have one of the better school districts in the state, and we want to maintain as much as we can. And on the other hand, if we don't cut and we turn to the taxpayers again, all you're going to do is diminish the dominoes that are holding up a foundation that's weak.
Right.
You're going to make it even worse.
Seen the Hornell City School District pension problems for years coming down the road. They've increased for year after year after year. Mm-hmm. City of Hornell has the same thing with their retirement system. It keeps coming and coming. The mayor said recently that, we see this pension problem coming. We've seen it coming down the road for years now. Why is everyone waiting to the last minute? Instead of trying to cut all sports in 1 year and get everyone all up in a roar, smaller bites, it has to be cut. You raised taxes last year. How much money was spent on the field, grants or whatever else? Why wasn't someone thinking ahead saying, we're going to have a pension problem. We can't put a field in. Chicago Bears play on grass. Green Bay Packers play on grass.
If we could
Think
transfer
of the money,
that money, that would be great.
Then you go without.
Well, you can't transfer the money. It's not like you could take $1 million that you put into a field and put that into a TRS reserve.
Maybe I'm confused. Then what money did you generate raising taxes last year to pay for the field?
We didn't raise money last year to pay for the field.
Or what was the tax increase from last year?
The tax increase was to run our operating budget and the programs that we have. Capital projects are a separate fund that when the voters back in, I think, 2008 approved the $52 million project, they approved the work to be done under that umbrella. The money that comes in either in capital project aid to fund that goes into a separate capital account. That money's to be used for that capital project. It would be nice because that work came in under budget. I think a few years ago it was reported it came in like $4 to $6 million under.
So did it come from taxes in 2008?
What's that?
Did it come from tax revenue
No.
in 2008 or federal funding?
It comes in from state aid, state building aid. Pays the largest portion of that, and then there's a tax portion of it.
From, do you know?
What's that?
Where does the state get the money from?
One thing I'll say, and I
Us.
don't normally say things like this when
From the
someone's in the room,
taxpayers.
but I'll tell the superintendent through the board members that are here, you shouldn't be talking to the governor. The governor doesn't have a pot of cash that he can dip into to save the Hornell school system. And Ralph, you're right, it's pretty much every rural school district in upstate New York has got this problem. There isn't going to be a bailout. I mean, going to see the governor and asking for more money, the governor will laugh at you because there is no more money. In part because, in fact, we are already spending more money on education than we ever have before. We have not decreased education spending, we increase education spending. So to the extent that an individual district is lost out because of a funding thing, that's not the governor's issue. That's the speaker's issue. Sheldon Silver appoints the Board of Regents. The Board of Regents decides education policy. So if you've got a problem with mandates, required spending, required teacher ratios, the number of paraprofessionals that need to be in the classroom, special learning programs for the developmentally disabled. These are not issues that the governor controls. The governor and the legislature do not control the Department of Education. Sheldon Silver does through his appointment of the Board of Regents. And this is why, and there's good news and bad news about what happened last Tuesday in the state Senate. I'm sure you all know, if you read the newspapers, that we still don't know whether the Democrats or the Republicans are going to be controlling the state Senate. The best guess, however, as of a few hours ago, is that there's going to be sort of a kind of coalition government in the Senate, because you're going to have an almost majority of Republicans and an almost majority of Democrats, and a swing group of 4 independent Democrats and a fellow by the name of, was it Simcha Felder? Simcha Felder, who was elected as a Democrat, but announced yesterday that he was going to vote with the Republicans for control of the Senate. So we're going to have a bit of a coalition government, and that will shift even more power to Governor Cuomo. So the real question will be, will Governor Cuomo, who intellectually understands all of these problems, will he seize the moment and try to address the education mandates, the way we run education in New York State? He has enormous power, even though he doesn't control the Board of Education, through the SUNY trustees, who have the ability to increase the number of charter schools. I think charter schools are not the answer. They're not the silver bullet either. But if we get a governor and a legislature that says, hey, look, what we've got now isn't working, we've got to go to a plan B, and that might be more charter schools in New York State. That might bring some of the teachers union people to the table. What Tom O'Mara and the Republicans are thinking about is the fact that Nate Shinagawa's supporters are already talking about him now running for the state Senate against Tom O'Mara. And they're all looking at the 48% that Shinagawa got against Tom Reed and thinking, could Tom O'Mara survive that? Given that he's got a good chunk of Tompkins County in it as well.